hills to Pocondre. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. This is also FOL Live on Kear Radio 96.9. We are broadcasting right there at near the BTC. I want to welcome all of you around the globe. This is Focus on Liberia. Let me welcome our man from the nation's capital, Mr. Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, good to be here. Hope we have a riveting conversation about our wonderful homeland.
Let me also welcome Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. He's a neo-progressive commentator. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. Hi to Mr. Eastman. And I just want to say hi to the Liberian people, those who are listening to us this afternoon. It's a pleasure being in your homes this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to welcome all viewers from across the globe. We're also live, and we're having some technical difficulties from our Monrovia-based group. That's our Kear Radio. Pretty soon, Josh will be joining us, and we can get this moving. But we continue. We start with the show, and we want you to, if you have not done so already, please share the show, invite a friend, and let's get started. And if you are here, Dr. Pearson, Jimmy, you also have the option to share this from your Facebook link. You should be able to see a notification at the top right to share this on your own Facebook or social media. Jimmy, do you see that?
I have shared it on my social media already.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to talk about a few things today. Today, the president was in Nimba to commission or inaugurate the ArcelorMittal, the concentrator, $1.4 billion, they say, concentrator that's being built. We want to talk about that. And, we have other issues with some concessions. If time permits, we're going to throw in the one that we are kind of looking at. Also, Liberia on the UN Security Council has a non-permanent member. That issue, Tuesday that happened, we talk about it, but we can discuss more. We also know that 7 lawmakers have been summoned by the police has persons of interest in the Capitol building fire. U.S. travel restrictions on some countries, including African countries, including our neighbor Sierra Leone. What does that mean for Liberia? And we just got a seat on the Security Council, including DR Congo. But Congo, say you can come here. We're going to talk about all this and more want to share the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. Jimmy, I want us to start with ArcelorMittal, right? ArcelorMittal is expanding. They built something. They call it the concentrator. So what this concentrator is going to do? So before that, let's say on the international market, they want the iron ore at a certain grade, let's say 65%, right? But Liberia does not all the areas have 65% iron ore. The grade is not 65. Some has 30, 45, 50. So what the concentrator does is it takes everything, including the 35%, process it to bring it up to 65%, so it will meet the standard of the people who want it, right? So without the concentrator, what ArcelorMittal was doing was to go from place to place, just looking for 65%. Now, with this, it's going to be more, they are exploring more iron ore. It's going to do a lot of things. So let me start with you, Jimmy. What does this mean for the country?
Well, I wish my colleague and classmate, Dr. Mobile, was on here because he loves this topic.
Yeah.
But especially, when the mining companies left, we talking about in the ones that were in Bummy Hill, the ones in Bone Mines, when they initially left, it was not because there was no more iron ore there. Because the iron ore that was there was not in the concentration that they found commercial. But it could have been upgraded. And right now, with the technology that is available to us now, it's much easier to upgrade the ore. So I think it's a good idea. It's a good thing now that we can make better use of the iron ore, more opportunity for Liberia to sell its minerals. But this technology has been around for a while, though.
Right. Yes, that they didn't have it, right? So it's like you go somewhere, you don't have all it takes, so you are just scavenging around, just picking from here, there. So I spoke with Dr. Maluba, what that meant is if you can no longer find 65%, meaning your work is done. So ArcelorMittal, with that concentrator, they were going to close.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to close the mine because they can no longer get, the 65, because the iron content in that should be 65%. So if you have 35%, the guy who is processing it into steel raw or the iron that's in our car, it's not able to use that. And so everything that you send there is going to go to waste. So now they have this concentrator. They are able to employ more people. They are able to expand their operation, and they will stay longer in Liberia.
That's
Dr.
right.
Pearson, does this sound like good news to you?
Dennis, when I looked up the thank you for the question and hi to everybody out there. When I look at that whole concept of the concentration of our iron ore in Liberia, using that technology you talked about, it's not necessarily about transforming the ore into just a higher grade. It is actually about Liberian men will say sifting the ore from the other particles of dirt that will comprise the entire shipment that you're shipping out of the country. If I can make myself much clearer, what I would say is like it's like almost like racking the rice to take out the stone from inside before you cook the country rice. Poking normally racking in the fender. Take out all the rack from there and then you leave with the pure rice, which means when you cook it, you'll not be chewing any dirt in the rice. So the better you are able to make that separation between the usable extraction and the ore, and the dirt that comprises the ore, the better it is when you are selling your product on the world market. But what that means to me, Dennis, is the fact that ArcelorMittal is only making yourself more purchasable on the world market to make more dollars out of Liberia. So that 1 point whatever billion she put into that entire process is to only make a product more sellable. But what is in it for Liberia? I think that's the key point for me going forward.
And just to be clear, what when I spoke to the experts, what that is doing is you are able to process the iron ore to bring it up to the required grade. It's not about sifting it from bad particles. You are because the grade, the iron content that we're supposed to sell for it to be useful to those that are processing it should be 75% iron content. Anything less is a waste, right? So the concentrator will do that for us, will bring up the low grade to the required 65% or so.
We're saying the same thing, Dennis, in different ways. I just speaking colloquial.
No. No, they are not. No, they colloquial because I understand it. Because
let me just say that for the audience. So when you take the iron ore, the raw iron ore from under the ground, that concentrator is not going to change what you take from under the ground. It is only going to allow you to have more of the ore than anything else that is not usable in that whole pile that you're shipping out of the country. That's the idea, Dennis.
Right.
But it's not permanent.
So what's going to happen now is because of this, ArcelorMittal is going to do more work in Liberia, meaning we're going to mine more iron ore. The iron ore reserve now has gone up. So it's not going to go from place to place. So there's more ore to mine now in Liberia than ever before.
Right.
Because the low grade that you couldn't process, now you can sell it.
Right.
So it means they're going to they need more trucks, more shovels, more rock crushers, so more employment opportunities for our people. That's one. Number two, since they have invested 1.4 billion in the country, they're not just going to leave. So right now we can even tie them by their throat. They're going to do it because they can just leave, right?
Mm.
The agreement that was signed was for, I think it's supposed to sign a new one in 2030. So I think we can use that time now to make more demands, Jimmy.
Well, okay. You're walking down a slippery slope there. When you sit at the table and negotiate the terms of your agreement, they are locked in, and one would expect that each party will honor what they committed to. So by later on changing or altering or trying to renegotiate will send
that's renewal because it ends 2030. The current agreement ends 2030. So they have to renew 2030.
So yeah, okay. So the whole thing is, yeah, they might be able to, because they put some significant investment there, they might be more inclined to offer something better. But my thing has always been that if we're not doing any intermediate product, if there are not some stages of production being employed in the extraction of our resources, we lose. We lose two ways. We lose one because as it goes through stages of production, the value of it increases. You offer job availability for those who will be working it, and you indirectly affect the economy because now the economy will benefit from those advanced stages of production. More money will circulate, and there will be more money available. But we're not doing that. I'm totally against simply exporting our raw material. It should not be taking place. There should be part of the agreement where some of that is plowed back into the economy. Some intermediate goods should be made within Liberia to boost the Liberia's GDP. But no, it is simply being used to export our raw material. I think this is not healthy. In the long run, I don't care what they may offer, unless they're providing us new products on our market that we can produce, it's not a good deal.
Dr. Pearson, not a good deal?
Yeah, I understand what Mr. Eastman is saying, and I think I support the idea, unlike that my argument or my advocacy have been over the years that uh, we cannot unduly pressure existing concessionaires to do what we think needs to be done, but we can innovatively be creative enough to see how we can facilitate what they're doing. What do I mean by that? So, take for instance, I strongly believe that a percentage
Yeah.
of any
Okay.
raw material.
You want to mute him, Mike? You want to mute him, John?
Okay, yes. So let me just continue. So I believe strongly that a percentage, we should have a law that will ensure that a percentage of raw material that are extracted in our country or leaving our country will stay in the country for production, manufacturing. But at the same time, I do not subscribe to the idea that we should force an existing company to make that happen. For instance, the manufacturing component, because a company may just be there for extraction and may not be necessarily interested in manufacturing. So can we go out there and find an existing company who is involved in iron manufacturing of different iron products and then encourage them to come to the country, and then the existing laws will ensure that they get a sale of any iron ore that is mined in the country so that they have access to the raw material. That is a good path for me. Another thing I want to stress is that I think the Central Bank of Liberia, woman, and considering how things are shifting around the world today economically, what can the central bank do to solicit and ensure that we galvanize funding and resources and put out bids out there for Liberians to come and bid for certain of a financial and a loan that is not like Mill Jones then did in the past for marketers and stuff like that. But I mean, substantive loans that Liberian-owned entrepreneurs can get involved into the economy so that their efforts can be subsidized. That fits the steel industry. Do we have a bid from the central bank that would say central bank get $25 million for anyone going to the iron manufacturing industry, and it is open to come and do a joint venture and then get this loan, and then they can put into it and then invest it in the country. That way we promote our own Liberians into our economy. I think we should be looking in these directions and see how we can build on what is already there instead of just pressuring existing companies alone.
And when you say pressuring or forcing, I think all these things can come into play when we sign these agreements and when we revisit them. My experience speaking with people that are in the business is most of the time we don't have the qualified Liberians with the requisite knowledge at the table. And so these things, especially the way ArcelorMittal came in through at a time that Judy Bryant was in power, we needed people to come in, we needed money. So things were given ArcelorMittal almost free. It was like super banjo of our natural resources. Now, under President Salih, that was changed a little bit. So there are still room for improvement so that it benefits both parties. I don't think that's forcing or that's pressuring. We can do it. But one thing I want to talk about is today, I witnessed the program when the president was there, the superintendent spoke. And to me, I don't know if you had a chance to listen, it was like negotiating or begging or asking them like they are doing us a favor. This is our country. This belongs to us. So why are we really talking from that weak position? I don't know, Clarence, if you were able to listen.
No, I wasn't able to follow because I was at work, Dennis.
Jimmy, so we all, I don't know if any of you visited Lamco. Things look way better than they are now. I'm not expecting what we call the pre-war stage to come out immediately, but ArcelorMittal have been there for a while now. And it looks like we are still not negotiating from a position of strength. Remember now, Even the railway, we give it to them. Right. Jimmy, what can we do to kind of, you know, get the best out of what we have? That's our minds.
Well, there are a couple of things. There are a couple of aspects you can try to improve. I told you I talked to do this extensively with Dr. Mulba. One of the things he says, instead of receiving cash as as our dividend or whatever we're supposed to get, why don't we receive the pellets that are going to export, receive them directly at the port, because that's where they are transporting them to. And at the port, we put in, just like Dr. Pearson was suggested, put in a factory. And we will have the pellets right there, ready to be transformed into various intermediate and finished goods. So we can improve. One thing is what we receive from them. Okay. Another thing we could improve. These people are using tons and tons of electricity, especially if they're smelting, if there's the iron ore to make steel. We can use this opportunity to improve LEC, to provide a significant power and hence generate income from power generation. So that brings up another industry, which in turn will have trickle-down effects on various surrounding lateral and vertical industries to that. So that's another thing that can be done. The third thing that can be done, we could take the stance of Sékou Touré. I remember when the iron ore, when there was a glut for Africa, and people were just going after African minerals and stuff, Sékou Touré refused. He says, until I can better mine my own ore or better transform my own resources, it will stay in the ground. I'm not going to let you take it, And we understand how France reacted to all of that, and they even went up and started uprooting the streets. They claimed they put them in. And can you imagine you spending money to tear up a street? They have that kind of inclination. So there are things we can do. It depends on which angle we want to attack, and there's various facets we can attack to improve it. But what has been our biggest Achilles heel is our leaders, when they go negotiate, when they rub their hands, they're not thinking no more about the country and the future. They're thinking about the kickbacks they get, the offers they get under the table. And that is what is, if you look at some of Lamco and Bum Mines or Bummy Hills deals, Tubman families were getting royalties from those deals, and that should never happen. The country's resources belong to the people, not to the president that was elected to serve them. We have had this perverse relationship, and it has to be corrected someday. I'll leave it right there.
Thank you. And speaking about that, there is a royalty system. I was asking some experts, I said, well, if, say, ArcelorMittal is supposed to give us 3%, 4%, 5%, 20% of royalty, who is there to make sure that we are getting that? For instance, is percent of something. How do we know that's something for which we are getting the percent? So are we able to tell, okay, give us 3%, but 3% of what? Do we have people there to tell that amount so that we make sure that what we're supposed to get, we get it? I think that's another problem too, right, Dr. Pearson?
Yes, Dennis. I think we do have a Bureau of Concession. I think we have a bureau that's supposed to be responsible to follow up on these concessionaires and to ensure that what they they've committed themselves to in the MDAs are followed. Whether they are doing what they should be doing, that's a whole different ball game. But again, we understand that Liberia is a place, for the most part, I don't want to be too general, but for the most part, where people who are supposed to enforce regulations and the laws will compromise the interests of the state for a little or nothing. But having said that, I want to just clarify something, Dennis. When you talk about us not negotiating from the position of strength, I think the mentality of Liberians that concessionaires should be pressed until they get so weary and walk out of the country, I think it's a bad approach. I think from my own experience being in Liberia, I think we burden concessionaires so much, both the politicians and the policies on ground, to the point that the better deals get stuck even before all of the connoisseur cuts, are given out there. By the time the concessionaires are able to get up and start running, they have spent so much money on the corrupt politicians and those who want caught on the side that the only thing that are left with is how to recoup, right? But this is what I would say, right? I will say this again, I'll keep repeating myself. We need innovative leadership. We need creative leadership. We need a leadership that will not say to ArcelorMittal, build schools, build roads, build hospitals, but an innovative leadership that will tell ArcelorMittal, these are the policies around how you can harness our natural resources. This is what the country needs in a fair share, and the government can invest that fair share in subsidy to its own entrepreneurs and its own citizens to make up the very economic, different pillars of manufacturing, production, whatever the case is, that would add value to the resources leaving the country, in huge amount, so that they don't live in a huge amount. And I think by that we will build a middle income class we're talking about. But I strongly frown on us telling the guys build hospital, build schools, build roads. No, the man brought a company not to build roads and build hospital and build schools. The man brought a company to make profit. But you can tell the man, this is what we want as a fair share from your investment in our country, and we as the government will use the just benefit of Liberian people so that at the local level and at the national level we can reinvest it in the economy. I think that's what we should be doing. That colonial dependency on foreign government, now we're shifting it to companies, should not be there, because by that we get put a room to become more corrupt, because only a few individuals will get those cuts.
Right. And I too don't like this build us school, build us road. Yes, but that always come at the beginning when we sign these agreements. What is there? What are they supposed to do? Imagine we are signing agreements for 60 years, 120 years. I mean, that in itself is a problem. But I want us to shift a little bit to other agreements that we are hearing about, right? In the paper, there was something reported on this country. I mean, this company called African Global Logistics. In the front page, it said the close tie between Bouaka official and African Global Logistics raised concern amid ongoing corruption proof of the company's controversial former owners. And the story says the close relationship between President Joseph Bouaka, political advisor Magdala Cooper, and House Speaker Rachel Kuhn, particularly the alleged ties to African Global Logistics, the controversial successful of Bolo Africa Logistics, has raised serious concern about transparency and integrity at the highest level of the Liberia's leadership. And the story talk about how the now House Speaker and the political advisor, they were in Sierra Leone. They were kind of negotiating for this contract, and these guys, they don't have all that great reputation. We also saw another story on the contract that was given to another. So we are coming from a position where Liberians are not trusting that the government is really representing them correctly to craft these deals, because people that are arranging these, I mean, with a speaker and a political advisor, kind of in the forefront of these negotiations, I don't know, maybe somebody has to bring in that, but I don't know to what extent that can really benefit us as a people. So I was asking, what's up with the government with all these concession agreements? Mark Enterprise is another one. Okay, so they say, hey, this guy has been doing so badly. Why is the UL, the University of Liberia, the official department, is giving him this contract? Right. So there's a little kind of distrust with how we handle these things. So when a big company like ArcelorMittal, when we are doing business with them, people are not really sure that we're going to get the best out of it. You mean?
Well, this is an age-old problem we've been seeing, and Dennis, and it's not being checked because their whole attitude toward integrity and fairness is compromised, and we see a cahoot between, because you see where the executive is negotiating, the legislature is supposed to stand as a check and balance. Like say, no, this deal you negotiated, we don't look at it as proper. But if we find that our entire government is in cahoot and they're not advocating in our best interest, there's very few solutions you have to that. And of course, the only solution I've been seeing around the world is when a revolution takes place, because we cannot continue at this pace. We see people they come from nowhere, and all of a sudden they enrich themselves, and there's no penalty, no. It's something that we want, at least if this clergy or the church will speak against, but we're not hearing it, and it almost looked like that just elephant meat. Everybody just come get their own and then go. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. It's something that we haven't been able to wrestle free from.
And you said the church, like in the Liberal Council of Churches?
The church also supposed to serve as a beacon, or testing the people, the members of the government, to do the right thing. They too have a voice. If you don't hear their voice in the government, you can hear their voice on the pulpit, and they have served in many instances in history. You find that the church has led the way toward reform. We need reform. And I mean, it's just look at our budget would tell you we need drastic reform. How can most of our budget go to paying huge, exorbitant salaries? Mm-hmm. That alone tells you that it is state of jeopardy we're in. That should not be the case. The large part of our budget should go toward capacity building, go toward agriculture and revenue generating activities. That's where it should be go to, but not to pay salaries, and you can't recoup anything from those. So we're in quite a quagmire.
Dr. Pearson, another story that came up is a Lebanese who smuggles timber now wins the 500,000 World Bank bid. The story says in 2023, Mark Enterprise won a bid to construct the fisheries department at the University of Liberia, valued at nearly 500,000, $500,000, provided by the World Bank. The World Bank gave this money. So Mark Enterprise owner Mausa Abdul Karim smuggles timber, including a 350,000 consignment a year before the bid. Between 2017, the paper reports, and 2025, he invaded payments for work and resident permits, bringing into question the eligibility for the contract. Official documents identify Karen has 11 needs. However, immigration authority revealed also holds a Guinean passport, which is another offense. So these are some of the things that are happening with, the way some of these big companies, people with money, they kind of have their way.
Dennis, and that is a fact. I can agree with you more. But here's the thing, Dennis. The thing about how these big concessionaires and big institutions like World Bank and IMF and things work, they don't dwell on yes say and they say and he say she say. They dwell on facts and legal documents that are presented to them. So if Liberian government has, say, a businessman or a business entity, whether registered outside or inside Liberia, who have committed some offenses, that must be challenged in a court of law. And if the person or the entity is found guilty of any malpractices, there should be penalty, and based on the ruling coming out of that proceedings. It is on that big institutions will make decisions. They will not just listen to yes say they say. So again, it comes down to what we're saying from the initial stage. I, for one, when President Parker was elected and was president-elect, the very week they announced him president-elect, I think the same week, also the next week, President Parker had ArcelorMittal CEO in his house, right, in his house, and he was taking picture of the man. I was the first person who posted and said, this is bad for Liberia because it undermines any future endeavor President Parker may have, or courage President Parker will try to build up to confront these guys in the future. Because the first thing, that man did not go there because he left President Parker. He did not go there because he left President Parker's wife. He went there because he was trying to pave a way for the very thing we see happening today. And people criticize me and say I was too early to start making noise. It was too early for me to start making noise. Again, go back to what pressure President Parker been on under the few days with HPX. HPX are not even gotten any concession signed in Liberia. They were already spending money in the national budget. That's another form of compromise. So by the time it reaches to a place where we should negotiate and critique the very concessions and things like Mr. Eastman is saying to make a good decision on investment in Liberia, we've already further compromised. Madam Ellen Johnson did the same thing. Before some BRE and other folk would take ground in Buchanan, she already finished taking picker for them, divided with legislature, a member of the legislature. Everybody had one picker, wet picker, he lose picker, right? So how do you come on there, go on the floor and vote against the company and finish giving you one pickup and the chief executive finish signing onto the contract? So you see, these are the issues we have in Liberia. But that's what I would say, Dennis. I would say, just to clear myself before somebody persecute me unfairly outside there, if a company in Liberia is found in acts of fraud and mismanagement or whatever the case is, the Liberian government should be swift to prosecute those cases, whether they have the evidence. And then if they don't have the evidence, then they should just not dwell on speculations and not cloud our economic space with these kinds of issues. I would say let them look into it, and there's any merit to this case, let them prosecute. If not, let it go.
Prosecute means you go to court.
Yeah, go to court.
In Liberia, if you go to court, especially with people that have so much money, do you have a fair share? Now, today I witnessed demonstrations in Monrovia around Battery Factory, Triple Village, Stockton Creek community. They say, well, their land has been taken because Seti brothers came there and said they have 85 acres, and those 85 acres people are living there. So now they're trying to evict them, and so they are in the streets and say, we can move, President Bouaka, everybody come to our aid and all that, right? So when ordinary people, whether they right or wrong, if they are not finding justice, if ordinary people think that nobody is listening to them, you think they will have the strength or the courage to kind of take a businessman like this guy to court?
I think that's a loaded question. What I would say, I for one, from day one, from Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf time, with Mary Broad to George Weah to now Bouaka again, I strongly detest, and when in early we say we vehemently oppose the approach to how to do development in Liberia. And the word I used to hear was development comes with pain. Development doesn't necessarily have to come with pain. Development can come with proper planning. There's something called a social development theory, and it tells you how you can link with the communities, and then you can decide a way forward in a progressive way that built on what the existing structure and certify the existing need to reduce the level of tension between government and the citizens. Poverty in Liberia was not invited by the Liberian people themselves. Poverty in Liberia was imposed upon them by the very people in power, by the very Boyka them. President Boyka, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Charles Taylor, and all of the top government officials of that generation. They imposed poverty on the Liberian people. They are responsible for people dwelling in slums and dwelling in alleys and dwelling in places that they shouldn't be dwelling in. If they are not brought the war, our people will not be in a destitute situation they find themselves right now. So they should coordinate and cooperate with the people so that they can have them removed. First, can I come to the issue about the injustice you mentioned? Why will a Seti brother be the premise on which citizens of Liberia, are evicted off of 85 acres of land? What does the land right say about how many acres an individual can possess? What does the land right say about that? We need to go look into the laws. Does it say that a Lebanese man can come and buy 85 acres of land in Liberia and have Liberians kick out of the place because somebody sold 85 acres? Who got the right to own 85 acres in a principal area where you got the population of Monrovia is more than almost 2 million people, or close to 2 million people? Who make that decision? Anyway, I leave that with Mark Jabate, the urban minister, to do that thinking for me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday. We should be on Kear Radio, but the radio is having some issues now, and so that's unfortunate. But on Tuesday, Liberia was elected, on the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member. And, I think it's sinking in now. We talked about this on day one. When this happened, that was on Tuesday. So now, 2 days later, Dr. Pearson, have your perspective changed on this? Has new information come in as to what Liberia is going to benefit from? And you were fortunate. You listened to our foreign minister on BBC this morning talking about all the things that need to happen that they're going to do as a result of the seat at this table. What are you thinking now? Champagne that you didn't talk on Tuesday.
I think I have a couple of United Partisans on Facebook celebrating when I posted telling Sarah Beslo Yanti, Minister Beslo Yanti, thank you, and commending her for her a splendid presentation on BBC this morning. And I was and they're asking whether it is me for you or somebody stole my phone. And or stole my computer. But let me say this on the radio. Look, it was me who posted that. No Liberian hate their country. Genuine Liberian. None of us hate our country. Our criticism is because people give us reason to criticize. So when we see the good thing happen, we will definitely be happy for it. What Madam Beslo did on BBC this morning, Dennis, she did a couple of things. She was able to provide an insight into Liberia's foreign policy position on what Liberia will be pushing at the United Nations non-permanent membership or seat when they are there in the Security Council. She said a couple of things. She said, one, Liberia is committed to peace and security and not in support of any wars that we see across the continent in Africa or in the West. All right. She also mentioned something that she's looking to project Liberia's image in terms of the rights of women, the rights of young people, and stuff like that. She mentioned that she is interested in showing that Liberia is independent in its decision at the Security Council, so that Liberia will not vote based upon any undue influence. And then she was asked why Liberia did not vote along the U.S. Yesterday against the peace, cessation of hostilities in Gaza. She said, no, Liberia principles and values is not in support of war. Liberia value peace based on our own engagements. So she talked about supporting and pushing Pan-Africanism agenda at the United. So those are things that the progressive like me was looking forward to hearing. I heard that, but something, Dennis. Let me close by saying on this, Dennis. I was impressed with several Minister Beslo, but I'm hesitant when it comes to President Boyka. I think President Boyka has no clue what Sarah Beslo was talking about. I don't think Jeremy Pierre understands anything Sarah Beslo was talking about. And I don't think they understand the foreign policy and the domestic policy of Liberia to project it like she did. And so I'm afraid that all of that will just be her internal imagination and not the official position of the Republic of Liberia.
And that's I don't know how we call that in literature. That's like a contradiction, right? Because Sarah Beslow is carrying forth President Bwakai's agenda, President Bwakai or the government foreign policy agenda. That's why she's so. I don't know when you are separating the government from Sarah Beslow Yanti. I don't understand that.
So yeah, so then is that where individual competence come into play?
And that's why she was tapped to be there.
Oh, let me help you. The President Bwakai is sitting right in Liberia there, and every instruction he has given, they are being disregarded, and nobody following anything. So I'm just saying this: President Bwakai will wake up one morning, and Jeremiah Kear will get up and say, "This is Liberia position," and President Bwakai will have no clue what Jeremiah Kear just said on the radio. It's as simple as that. There's no coordination in the government. So I believe in the competence of Madam Beslow. Listen, I understand and I know her history at the United Nations as well. You know, on the world stage. I know when she was in Sudan, either Sudan or Somalia, I think it was Sudan or Somalia, what she did there. You know, so I have confidence in her competence. I don't have confidence in her boss. You know, just that the managing director, the main supervisor, you come and put good things in place, Dennis, and the managing director just come in the office one day and he trashes everything out of the window, and you have to start from scratch. And I think that's what I'm afraid about when it comes to what she said and what the government will do in practical terms.
Jimmy, Dr. Pearson is talking about what is being said, not what is being done, right? Yeah. From 2 days later, what are you thinking about our seat? You know, someone was telling me, say, hey, what is it that we are bringing to the table? You can be at the table, but if you have on ratchet clothes, you know, people are not even going to listen to what you have to say at this table, right? Because we want to see the strength you come with at the table to be able to to contribute meaningfully to what is being discussed. Not voting with the U.S. as we've been doing. I remember President fired his foreign minister, he said, because he didn't vote with the United States, right? And United States, right now, the foreign policy of the United States is, I mean, we can tell what President Trump is doing. So voting or not voting with the U.S., I don't know what that does for Liberia. But your take on our seat on the Security Council, not permanent member, 2 days later. Has anything changed? You have more information now than Tuesday.
First of all, the foreign minister's speech was impressionable because I've been waiting to hear what is Liberia's foreign policy. I've been listening for this from the time they took office almost maybe 1.5 years ago. And because you need policy that as a guidance to how you perform, and we couldn't distinguish what our Liberia's foreign policy. I think we heard snippets of it the other day in her deliberation, but at least we're getting an idea of what our Liberian policy and foreign policy is. And I kind of agree with Dr. Pearson in that. Is this concocted by Sarah Beslow alone, or is this a established policy by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, guided by the executive and chief executive President Bwakai? Because if it's not, then we will not see this thing bear fruit. You know, it's one thing saying something, but bringing it to realization is another thing. So we still have to see if we will conduct ourselves in such a way. Okay, the vote against the resolution. Do you know that the United States was the only country that voted for that? They're the only ones. No one else agreed to that. So what we can do anyway, now that we've gotten this seat. You know what they say, the pen is more powerful than the sword. the way we discuss things, the way we position ourselves, the way we bring up the discussion and in defense of ourselves can make things change. So it is a position that can be leveraged if you want to. All right. But just give you an example about this position. The Congo was also elected to this position, but today they've been travel banned to the U.S. So just because you have this position is not enough. Now, we still want to appreciate this, but we still have a lot to see. And and from my own experience, I can tell you. Sometimes I used to ask my dad. My dad used to say, the American delegation will go to him and ask him, "We know your people told you you're supposed to vote this way. What are you planning to do?" And he's like, "What? These people know exactly what my country is telling me to do before I even tell them." So there's going to be pressure, but the world is changing today. And if Liberia wants to be strong and an adversary or take up the defense of herself and other African countries, she has to be strong enough to bear what will come. So we're supposed to be now industrializing, improving our economic status so we can be able to bear the punishment or whatever should come in front. And if we're not doing that, the first little wave would be enough to topple us over. Let's face it. You can be the mightiest warrior, but if you're hungry, you've been starving for days, even a child can beat you up. So we have to fortify ourselves if we're going to be independent and take. We remember what happened with Talbot when he refused to cater to the demands of setting up a military base in Liberia. We'll know what happened to him. But just the other day, this administration was offered the same deal and they took it. So what are we really seeing? That's why I said, was it just grandstanding like Dr. Pearson said? Was it just grandstanding? Are we really going to stick to our guns and be this obstinate? Oh, we got yet to see.
And that's why these people go to BBC, right? Because I really wanted that on a local radio station. Let Liberians ask you questions. Let BBC lift it. But our people quick to run to BBC. But at home, when this thing happened on Tuesday, what we're discussing mainly in Liberia is Bwaka versus Wuya. Who did it, right? President Bwaka gave a speech and did not acknowledge President Wuya. President Weah wrote a letter and kind of taking a jab. Jimmy, is this what we should really be talking about? Government, and probably this is one reason why we continue to have what we have, because we don't look at government as a whole. The famous government is continuity. That's not what we do. I was driving from here to Wyandotte, and I saw Publix new. So I say, if this Publix, that's a grocery, if this Publix was built in Labrador, then we'll say, Bwaka built it. We hadn't built a Publix. But here, nobody is attributing this Publix being built here to President Trump, right? But in Labrador, everything is on the line of this president, that president. Even if the rain is falling, sun is shining. I remember under President there was a gas leak around Claratown area, Claratown or Vietown area, and the guys then were prison president. They were able to go on the water, scoop some gas to sell it, and they were prison President Weah that since the ban there, it's just because of President Weah that they had the spill and they were able to enjoy from it. So the discussion back home now is like, it was Weah who started it, president. Somebody told me, he said Weah drove the entire field. Then President Weah passed it to President Bwaka in the penalty box and he scored. And he doesn't want to acknowledge President Weah.
Yeah.
What is your take on this kind of thinking?
It brings me back to the memory. I think one of our colleagues on Focus on Liberia echoed it when we beat Black Star back in the day. We beat them one time. They said we are opening and Diva close it. We're singing all the way from the SKD Stadium all the way down to town.
We are closing.
Yeah. You are right. It should not matter. These petty victories and these claims to it's petty. It doesn't really go any further. If we want to test our leaders and president, ask them what have you done for the country since you been president? What did you improve? Did more people have jobs or less people have jobs? Do you bring down infant mortality rate or did you? Do we now have a lot of agricultural farms and availability to our farmers? Have you done that? Have you built X amount of roads? That is the true test. Have you uplifted the Liberian people? All these little claims to victory should not even matter, because tell you the truth, even if we might have started this some time ago, it's continuity, but it was accomplished in this administration. We can clearly see that this administration had to go and lobby the various places for it. But I think we're making too much of this until we see who is there and how they behave. I think right now we should be very just be very wary of how this whole thing is handled, because, like I said, it could mean nothing, or we could see how it means. So I think we're making a big deal of this, and we losing focus. Our focus should be somewhere else. I don't think this should be that great of a focus. Again, like I said, if we really ready to take an obstinate stance, we better be able to feed ourselves, because we are very dependent. So if we're not doing anything to feed ourselves, I don't know how far we're going with this, obstinance.
Dr. Pearson, you said you don't celebrate pregnancy, you celebrate Popo Napo. Do you see the Bobo Napo now, or is it still a pregnancy? And is the debate on who started, who completed, who did what, is it taking our focus away? Also, there are pressing issues on the ground that we are contending with. Is this trying to redirect the focus so that we don't focus on the things that are really, really troubling us?
Dennis, a good question, but I'll be careful there, because my friend and my daughter, what her name, Mariah, right? Mariah Yakula got a tendency of going back in people inbox and videos and pictures and take a snippet from there and bring it to the future. So I wouldn't want to say that local politics in Liberia does not call for the kind of mediocre tendency we see around Liberia, that people will praise politicians for everything they do. Even if the politician came to your house and buy you one bag of cold water, they will still sing and dance for you. I mean, that's the local politics. So I wouldn't take that away from them, because it's possible I might be carrying Mr. Alexander Cummings at ERW Junction, and then people will be celebrating because he just gave them one bus for the district. And then somebody will say, oh, but you're on focus on Liberia. Said nobody should be praising people for things that they're doing. So I wouldn't say that that's the local politics, but this is what I would say, right? President Boka got pregnant with war crimes code. That pregnancy is I wouldn't say a miscarriage right now, but it's close to miscarriage, right? The asset declaration pregnancy, that one part, just forget it. Not asset declaration, but asset recovery. They already swimming in corruption right now, and we need to recover asset from them. So the asset recovery needs to be recovered. Yeah, the asset recovery, one group, we need to recover from them while they already finished stealing for the short time they were there. And without even recovering anything. So now the corruption cases with LCC right now to recover from them. Something that they finished stealing without restoring anything that is supposed to restore. I even don't know how to say it again. But this is the point, Dennis. Let me say to the Liberian people, I know Kear Radio will play this as relay, because the video is clear, but then he cannot get it clear on his internet at the studio. But let me say this to the Liberian people. Until we reach to a place where we look at politicians in the face and tell them this is not enough, I pay you to do a piece of job. I can't thank you for paying you to do a piece of job. I pay you already. Do my job. And until Liberian people can reach to a place where we are not looking to politicians to say, oh, I did that one, oh, I did that one. But we should be able to see the transformation of what they did in our lives. So don't come and tell me, say, oh, you build road, so I should praise you. No, I should be able to drive to Harper City and come back in a reasonable number of times. Then I will praise you now because I drove on the road. I shouldn't praise you because you did executive order 150 and say you remove tariffs on rest. No, I should praise you when I go to the market and rest cost $12 for bag and I'm not paying $2 for bag. Then I will praise you. No, but all the pregnancy that they can be doing and putting around concerning to be a delivery, I cannot sing Bobo Napo until the woman deliver because she will suffer miscarriage. You are muted, Dennis.
So it's just based on your prior experience of the miscarriages. That's why you are waiting until the baby give birth.
Yes.
I like to celebrate small wins. So even the first trimester, I want to be celebrating. But that takes us to the travel ban, Jimmy, because you mentioned it, right? Because these things are linked. We are now on the world stage. We have a seat at the table. President Trump, Trump 1.0 started the travel ban. It was challenged in court and they failed. So now he kind of trying to patch all the holes so that this doesn't get challenged and fail. I think before it was like 90 days. Here now is indefinite. So there have been travel ban on certain countries, including African countries, including our own neighbor, Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Right? They have strict restrictions and then they have some relaxed ones and all that. President Trump is saying they are terrorists from these countries. These people are doing bad things. Although the example he cited about, what happened, I think it was Colorado, was done by someone from Egypt. And Egypt is not on the travel ban. Saudi Arabia 911. Saudi Arabia is not on the travel ban. So I'm thinking, and then another reason is people that overstay their visas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all this travel ban, in what way do you think it affected? Does it also mean that, hey, really U.S. is not looking at us? What are we there? I like when the basketball players they shoot and they do that. I can see you, sir. It looks like U.S. not even seeing us.
No, that's so much, but we better not get on the radar in that kind of way. That is not a radar you want to be on. We have a traditional link to the U.S. But just the other day, remember I told you just the other day, something significant happened. I don't know if it passed Liberians. They're going to bring they are bringing a military base here, right? It was approved. So they're not going to put us on a travel ban. That's why it's going to be interesting. When Pearson were talking, say, I'm not sure if Walker knows all those things that Best will propose, because we see two different things in going on, and we've seen this happen before. We've seen the different conflicting information come from different places. The travel ban, all they have to do is to tell the embassies do not issue visas to these countries. Okay, that's all that has to, and then it put it in effect. But people found a way, and we have to be careful about the travel bans. Just like you indicated, the 9/11 terrorists, most of them came from Saudi. But did you see them break relationship with Saudi? Do you see anything like that? Nothing. So there's a lot of selective justice we're seeing here. Like you said, Sierra Leone was cited, and they're not predominantly Muslim. What they did notice about this, this ban was that it was predominantly Muslim countries. We talking about Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea. Now, Equatorial Guinea is an interesting story because Equatorial Guinea has oil. And one time they had condemned Equatorial Guinea, but the next minute, when they found oil, they had a direct flight from Dallas to Equatorial Guinea. So then they talk about Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Yeah. So predominantly Muslim countries, we see that being affected, and I guess they want to reduce terrorism. But why about those other countries? There's so many other Muslim countries that they allow people to come here. Again, like I said, Saudi is where all the terrorists came from. I mean, yet they didn't get a travel ban. So we have to take all this with a grain of salt, and see where it's going to go.
And where do you think it's going?
It is meant to target some. I guess it will reduce the influx of these people, browns, most of them being looking like they're being brown-skinned people, or you see people of color. I know that is one way of reducing those people coming in the country, and so I think that is the bigger goal. It's to reduce all the would-be immigrants to this country, especially from those nations.
The USA President Donald Trump signed a proclamation Wednesday evening to ban travel from several countries to the U.S., citing security risks. The ban will fully restrict entry of nationals from 12 countries: Afghanistan, Myanmar, also known as Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. People from 7 countries will have partial restriction: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Dr. Pearson, that's the news. Does it shock you? Is it with Sierra Leone, is it getting close to home? Because if you talk of travel overstaying their visa, I think Liberia was one of those decided for coming and not going back, right? Remember that?
Yeah. Right.
Is
it
close to home?
I think this couldn't have come at a worse moment for Liberia than now, though we are not on that list. But especially for those who were pushing the rhetoric when we were celebrating that being on the Security Council is such a big deal, that they put Liberia at a level that may seem to be some kind of a powerful place to be, and then this drops and it causes a serious eyebrow and raising. Because take for instance, Somalia is on the Security Council as we speak. Is it Somalia or is it Algeria, right?
Somalia was there before. I don't know if they're still there.
Yeah, Somalia was there before. Sierra Leone also just left on there recently. Yeah. All right. So yeah, and the thing that surprises me a lot is that even DR Congo, that was just elected to that seat, is also on that list. So what are we saying? What is it saying to us as Liberians? It tells us that being in our role does not suggest in any way, like I heard people say on the international media, on the local media, that Liberia is gaining a stronger voice, like the U.S. ambassador in Liberia said, Liberia is gaining influence in Africa, a gradual influence in Africa. Cut me a slack, because first of all, listen to me, Mr. Ambassador. If getting to that level with me, you gaining relevance, then why DR Congo did not gain relevance with your country? Why did they get slapped with a U.S. visa restriction immediately after they got the seat? Elected to the seat. Something is not right with that picture. That's diplomatic hypocrisy. And I think that's why we see, those of us who are progressive and pan-Africanists, we see that whole United Nations Security Council is a neo-colonial setup. It's an imperialist setup, only there to push the interests of the West and not Africa. And so I think that and Sarah said this. She said it's going to be Liberia's Minister Beslow said that it's going to be Liberia's agenda also when they're on that seat to make sure that they advocate for that whole veto power to be scrapped, right?
Yeah.
To be scrapped. And that's not the first time we made our call. I think we made our call with one Jay Herons, who was Speaker of Liberia before, made similar call in the past. So yeah, it's been a call we've been making before. So maybe we can still make the same call. But yeah, I don't think Dennis that this in any way going to help to ease the apprehension some of us have about being there. We just think Liberia is going to have a bigger stage to expose the bad governance in the country back home. Is going to hurt us on the outside. In terms of the B1, B2 visas that were restricted, like our neighbor Sierra Leone, Dennis, we don't think about it, but that's serious. That's serious blow. Dennis, people got family members, people got relatives, people got loved ones, people got businesses they got to attend to. B1, B2 visa is the one that the ordinary people go on, not the one that the top elite then go on. The ordinary people visa in there, you know. So I mean, that thing hurt. It hurts bad. So I pray that Liberia can learn from this. I know President Walker is sleeping, so I don't expect him to understand what is going on at that level. But I show Minister Beslow and others that understand the factors, you know, as they play out on the diplomatic stage, and we should prepare ourselves to adjust at home, so that we don't put ourselves in an embarrassing situation like we see with Sierra Leone and others.
And just to say, just check it. Somalia is currently there. Somalia term ends.
Yeah, they're there. They're there, Dennis.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday. We are discussing ArcelorMittal, the UN Security Council, and the U.S. travel restriction. Should we be worried? I mean, what the ambassador said is like, we were there before. We had that platform before. Besides that, Liberia was championing for the independence of other African countries. So he's saying it now like some promotion that we've never had before. No, we had that before. So don't try to do that to us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Capitol building fire. You know, they're trying to get some people now and say, hey, come, you are a member, you know, you are a person of interest. Let's take a 39 seconds break and we'll be right back.
Our country, sweet Mandela, our country, that God gave all this country. Tell Liberia, that God gave all this country. We are calling on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia, God gave all this country.
Welcome back. Reported in the news, let me read that for you. They say the Liberia National Police has summoned 7 members of the House of Representatives for questioning in connection with the recent arson attack on the Capitol building. The lawmakers, Representative Joey Funati Kofa, Priscilla Cooper, Dixon Sibo, Marvin Cole, Jacob Dibi, Frank Saafoko, and Abu Kamara are expected to appear at LMP headquarters on Friday, June 6. They have been named persons of interest in the ongoing investigation. Dr. Pearson, the investigation is ongoing. And do you see any similarity? What's the common thread that connects those people that are being called for questioning? And does that raise any eyebrow?
Yeah, Dennis, thanks for the question. Let me begin by saying that, listen, whoever is responsible for the burning of that Capitol building should be held to account if it is arson, right? I have no sympathy for whoever is responsible for the burning of the Capitol building, if indeed it was burned by an individual or a group of persons. Let me make that very clear. But at the same time, you know, I have zero confidence in this government and this administration. I got zero confidence in the Liberia National Police. I got zero confidence in Justice Minister Oswald Twe. I got zero confidence in President Joseph Yaman Boaka when it comes to the respect for the rule of law and for upholding equitable execution of justice. Zero confidence. And this is why I say that there has to be, in any democracy, an opportunity for people to see the transparency of justice. Because when justice is not transparent, Dennis, it clouds the entire atmosphere of the nation, and people are governed in fear, and people are governed in a state of pandemonium. And I think what we have right now is what we call in psychology the calm before the storm. And I think President Boakai and his administration are taking the Liberian people for granted. They are taking a whole block of Liberia for granted that has a significant potential to cause chaos in that country. Let me be very clear on your question, Dennis. At least there should have been at least a form of transparency, of impartiality, where the national police should have interviewed, if possible, significant amount of lawmakers across the aisle of the House of Representatives without any favoritism to majority black member or minority black member. That would have sent a signal out there to the Liberian people that the government and the Liberian National Police and the Justice Ministry is serious about the burning of the Capitol building. Another thing that should have happened is this. I think that immediately that Capitol building got burned, especially such an important and historic and sacred property of the country, there should have been an immediate involvement of an independent body from outside the country to ensure that the investigation of that entire process is free, fair, and transparent. But as I see it, Dennis, I think that whole process is flawed. I think it is compromised. I think it is politicized. And I think the government is proceeding in the wrong direction. If it is left with me, right now as I speak to you, the Liberian National Police is the prime suspect of the property of the burning of the Capitol building, because they were in custody of that building. Until the Liberian National Police itself can be a prime suspect to that incident, then they cannot be the investigator of that incident. I'll stop there.
Dr. Pearson, you talk about having zero confidence in the police, zero confidence in the administration, zero confidence all over the place. Do you have a history of having confidence in government? We have two successive governments now. Do you have a history? Because I want to press you, to see some consistency here.
Dennis, you know something? Government in Liberia, based on structure, comprises three branches: the legislative branch, the judiciary branch, and the executive branch.
We know that. Right
now, where I said, when you said, do you have confidence in government, I was precise to say who I don't have confidence in. When it comes to the judiciary, especially the Supreme Court of Liberia, I got explicit, without any iota of doubt, in the confidence of the Supreme Court's bench as it is right now, based on their recent rulings on cases that went before them. The reason I don't have confidence in President Boakai, the Liberian National Police, and Oxford 12 is because there are instances of blatant disregard for the rule.
I was talking about your history. Did you have confidence in President Weah? Did you have confidence in the police under President Weah? And things have changed.
Okay, Dennis, again, I'm interested right now in the current administration, because that where the substance of our current peace and security lies. I will not use Weah as a measuring rod for President Boakai. I was once in the opposition behind Alexander Cummings, behind President Boakai as an opposition, and we condemned Weah and everything that he did. And we said they were bad, they were wrong, he was incompetent. I cannot use him.
And you still stand by that.
Eh? And
you still stand by that.
I do firmly. I believe Mr. Alexander Bennett Cummings with his history of service, of his own professional career, is a standout character for Liberia. But Liberian people did not believe that. They chose President Boyka. President Boyka is complete embarrassment to the opposition that preceded his presidency. Complete embarrassment. And I can say that for a fact.
If you are joining us and want to watch the show or take part, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Jimmy, with the ending of the impasse, we thought this was, some of us had doubts that they were going to even revisit it, but I think they have surprised us and say we're still going to go ahead with this case.
Yeah, this development marks a significant and concerning turn in the investigation. One would hope that the Justice Department and police, what have you, are not weaponized for political gain. But we've seen this happen. I know Liberia, many of you younger people don't know, there was a time in Liberia that you could, if you were blacklisted, your whole family would be tormented. You could, so if they want you, if you appear as a political opposition, people could come against you. You ask, what's the commonality of those people that have been summoned? They were all in somewhat of an opposition to, they were independent. They were people who were not, siding with the UP administration. So this could be a nice way, a segue into getting, moving your opponents and freeing enough space for some of your more people to get there. I would only hope that this is not how it is going to be, but I see this investigation, especially now that this has been, these people have been called. I find that alarming, and we can only hope, that this will not spark increased national debate over the vulnerability of our institutions. We need stability, and all this sort of thing, as grave as it might have been for the Capitol building to have been arsonized, we still need stability in this country regardless. And we can only wish that they show transparency in this investigation, so that it doesn't it doesn't come back as a political witch hunt.
And what happens if it is a political witch hunt? What do we do?
Oh, we return to those days. Long time ago, before Tubman established his sovereignty here, if you had run against him, ask Coleman, ask Simpson, a couple of other people who dared detour, who dared give him opposition, he crushed them. And I can't tell, but there's an alarming similarity of how UP and CDC is going at it. The other day, former President Weah made a remark that if they're trying to weaponize the judiciary against CDC members and lawmakers, they will not stand idly by. So, everybody talk about 2029. I can tell you frankly, from what I'm seeing, 2029, everybody is arming up to the hilt for 2029. And, we because if anybody was really doing great for the Liberian people, I would say, okay, but if it's only for their selfish aggrandizement, we don't want to see that. We want a peaceful country. We want to be able to thrive, and we want to see our resources go to other better things. But to answer your question directly, it will not be good. if it's used for political reasons.
Thank you. We have a caller here, Dr. Kama Molba, to speak to Dr. Molba. Welcome. We want your expertise in this concentrator that ArcelorMittal. Jimmy was here crying for you. So, hey, the question you asked me, and where Dr. Molba was here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm out in the street, but I can talk a little bit on it.
Okay. Right. So the news says President Bouaka was in Nimba County, ArcelorMittal, to dedicate or inaugurate this $1.4 billion concentrator that was built. What is this all about? We want you to provide some education here. And I know I interviewed you a year or two ago, and you spoke about this very clearly.
Yeah, today is a great day for Liberia, for that concentrator. What it does is, our history here is ArcelorMittal has been high grading, taking only the high grade because it has 65% or more. And then because the company that's going to buy the ore is requesting 65% plus FE. But because they were doing hard grading, they didn't have the concentrator to upgrade the ore. So that left them, jammed. Well, now with the concentrator that is going to be able to upgrade from at least 37% up to 65, that gives them more room and give the company more iron ore, increasing the ore reserve. So that's a basic function of the concentrator. It takes a lower grade ore, upgrade it to the market demand, and then ArcelorMittal will not be high grading anymore. So they will have enough reserves, and that means increase in revenue generation and job creation for the country. So in short, that is what the concentrator is going to do.
I have a question for you, Dr. Molba. So one of the listeners is asking, to explain in greater detail what does the concentrator do? What is the science behind it? Okay, how does it work? And most importantly, how does it benefit the Liberian economy and the Liberian people?
Like I said, the concentrator takes a low-grade ore. Right now, ArcelorMittal is only restricted to mining high-grade ore because they didn't have the concentrator. So the concentrator will help to take the lower-grade ore and upgrade to the 65 or plus more percentage required by the market. And that's going to increase the iron ore reserve. They are no longer restricted to just mine selectively. So that means the mine life will be extended. Instead of the regular whatever 30, it may go even to 50. And that means more job time for the people, more job creation, more revenue generation, and other things associated with what ArcelorMittal can do for the country. So it's a victory for Liberia in this case, now that the concentrator is available.
And so what it says here, they say with an investment of $2 billion, the phase 2 project would triple ArcelorMittal's iron ore production from 5 million tons per annum to 20 million tons by 2025. The new concentrator, now mechanically complete and undergoing wet commissioning, is designed to upgrade lower grade ore 35-37% into high grade magnetite concentrate with over 66% iron content.
Yes,
this is
correct.
A transformative step, not just for ArcelorMittal, but for the entire Liberian economy, said Winston Drayu. So
yeah, this is correct.
Right. So how does it actually help the economy? So ArcelorMittal will be making more money, and in return, they will pay us some money. Is that how it helps us?
Yeah, and this is where the new NFGA will have to be looked at carefully to see that the country benefits more from the new installation of the concentrator because the oil reserve has increased. That's where the NFGA comes in to make sure that the benefits derived from the use of the concentrator is in the interest of the people.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you for being on the line, sir. My question to you is that we're using some key words here like grade. When you say you're going to upgrade the ore, the understanding in the layman mind would be that take for instance, you get a gold in your hand, but then the gold in your hand, you increase the quality of the gold to a higher quality. Or is it that upgrade means, so for instance, if you have fewer quantity of iron in the ore that you're transporting, instead of having that high lower quantity of ore or iron in the ore, instead you get rid of a lot of the excesses and have a higher concentration of the iron itself. Is that what we're talking about?
What we're talking about is right now they cannot treat anything lower than 65%. So anything lower than what they're doing right now is considered as waste. So the concentrator is coming in to convert those lower than 65%, between 37 to whatever, as economic mineral ore deposit now. So you increase the reserve because you have increased, you have lowered the cutoff point.
Let me clarify. So in the village, when we harvest the rest, when we harvest the rest, it comes with a shaft, it comes with a little straw, and everything attached to it. If you put it in a bag, you carry less rest home. But if you take all the rest green from on the straw, and then you beat the rest, and the rest is much more refined, and you put it in a bag, you carry more rest home. Is that what we're talking about?
No, that's not what we're talking about.
No.
Answer.
You have the iron ore already in existence, where it has lower percentage of iron
A
ore,
watery,
which is like 37, 35, whatever. So you can't send that to sell to the buyer because they want 65%. So you want to have a mechanism, a machine, or a plant that can take those lower grade ore and then bring it up to the 65% required. That's what the concentrator is for.
So like a PSN, understand it like this: you make it black, right? So you put more sand in the black. Because of that, you make more sand than the cement. So it's not able to make good. You can make good black. So what the concentrator will do now, it will, even though that the same quantity of cement and sand you have, but it's going to raise the level of that mortar, so that instead of it being so watery, now it's thick for us to build house with it.
Yeah.
One question, Dr. Moba.
Turning the waste into ore. That's a simple way to say
Yeah.
turning your current waste now into ore because you have the mechanism granted to you by the concentrator.
The iron was in that something was small, so we bring it up.
No, Dennis.
Dr. Pearson, you don't have to agree. Look, one more question, Dr. Moba. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, the question is, will this bear an opportunity to reopen some mines like Bummy Hills, the mines in Bummy Hills? Will we be able to go back now, since we have a tool to upgrade the poor quality ore that is there?
Yeah, if you make a proper study and you find the concentrator that can upgrade the quality of ore that you want, yes, you will need a concentrator to do this job. Wherever you go, you will need a concentrator. So that level with the government and any company that's coming in to provide the complete set that will ensure that we can process low grade ore as well as medium or high grade.
Thank you, Dr. Moba.
Thank you, Doc.
All right.
All right. Now, the question was, let's go back to the Capitol Hill fire.
Yeah.
Dr. Pearson, why we've had a lot of fire incidents all around the country. People even die in the fire. Why is this Capitol Hill fire so important than the other people, especially the ones that cause people to die?
I think a direct response to that question, Dennis, would be that the Capitol building is just not an ordinary building. The Capitol building, not when they say historic to us, is very sentimental. It has a lot of sentimental value for our country, and it's almost like the seat of our democracy if you come to think about it. All right, like they had to talk about the Congress here. So I can see why we will emphasize that fire above other fires. But you are right, though, that Liberia does have a significant number of fire incidences in the country, and our government has not really done well in terms of investigating those fires, so that we are able to find a remedy for them. Some say because we don't have the expertise to do it, even to the extent that we had to bring in fire expert for the Capitol building fire to corroborate the findings of our own experts on the ground. So, and there are other challenges, logistical challenges, in terms of how we have access to properties that catch on fire. Dennis, you go to Liberia, people build so closely together. Some people got houses that you ain't got no road reaching there. Whole community, you got roads between the houses, on the footpaths. So if there's a fire in one house, the fire truck cannot even get there. And then poverty does not allow our people to have individual fire extinguisher and stuff like that. So yeah, so there are much.
The people that on their own. Only the people that make more money, because Capitol Hill is that elite mentality. But hold that thought, let me bring in one color. Because if fire burn Jamaica Road, we do nothing. Only when fire burn in Capitol building. But let me bring on Evers Morris. Evers, you're live.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. Hello to you. Hello to the panelists. You know, I wanted the doctor to give us more information on how to concentrate work, because you can't take nothing for nothing. I mean, you can't make iron ore more just by putting a concentrator. Usually you have to add another metal to it, to make it stronger, which is to alloy it. So I guess maybe that's what he was trying to say, because it's probably a process where it will take some other metal to add it to the iron ore to make it stronger and upgrade the grade of it. So maybe he just couldn't explain that part to us. But I think the whole fire issue, it's fine. Look, this is what President Boyka wants to be. He wants to be this kind of bully. He wants to make the government, a boogeyman. Don't mess with the government. If you mess with the government, we'll put something on you. He wants to go back to the days of old. And it's just embarrassing. And it's troubling for those of us who thought he would be different. Because if you had the evidence all along, why even negotiate with Fodaki Kofa? If you knew that he was a prime suspect, that was a case for removing him from the speakership. Why not bring that up as even a main reason to remove him from there? Why negotiate with him, allegedly pay him, a few $1 million to concede his speakership, and then turn around and go after him? It makes no sense. This is a government that is vindictive. This is a government that don't care about the rule of law. They think they're Samuel Doe, the child stealer, that nobody can touch them. They'll be in power forever. Samuel Doe and the child stealer was tougher than Boycott. They had real gangsters behind them, real violent people behind them, and they still people were able to topple them. So the path that the president is taking, that he wants to go after all his political opponents and think that he can muscle them, think he can be like a Tubman, where everybody will be afraid of him, and you will have a complete dominance in the political space. You guys are not talking now. The moment there's violence in that country, they'll say, "Oh, but why do people fighting? Why do people fighting?" You the media, you're not speaking against it harshly. The moment somebody says there's a coup or there's an attack or there's something, then everybody will go against the CDC and say, "How do people can do this thing?" After years of oppression, years of suppression, none of you guys are really speaking up against it. The moment somebody attacks Boycott, then it's the worst thing that happens. So I'm just watching.
Are you implying that the CDC is planning a coup?
Well, if a CDC planning a coup, I don't know, boy. But if a coup happens, what am I going to do? I'm not in Liberia, so if Boycott's facing his own bid, when CDC ready to lay inside, how do we lay inside? You can't try to be a gangster and think the other men are in the country that will resist you. And you, the media, and other people need to talk about it, because we're Liberians. We know who we are. People, you can push, but a day you can see it happening in other countries. There's no coup in almost all other countries around us. What makes you think we're special? We can have another coup in our country. So let's be serious. Don't think a coup can happen. Thank you for the show and listening. Thank you.
Thank you. These are all the colors we have. These are all the colors we have right now. But let's look in the future a little bit. What do you think the end of this? Where is this going? This investigation? I mean, for any reason they're guilty, put them in jail, disrobe them, take them out of. Where is this leading, Dr. Pearson?
Dennis, I can only presume a few things, right? One, I would presume that this is another political move where, like, the guys hijacked the House of Representatives and put in the regime speaker, who was not a speaker, and then later on have him elected as speaker. And now they're validating all of the illegal documents and actions that they did in the past. I don't know how that is possible, where you can ratify a law that was passed, like the budget, and then say you're ratifying it and making it illegal after you finish doing the illegal activity. So what I would think here is that they are trying to, maybe like Mr. Eastman alluded to, that they probably may be trying to reduce the number of lawmakers in the House by having it removed, so that they can manipulate and bring in elected UP partisan or regime lawmakers. One. Two, I would think that they just have to find a scapegoat upon which to pin that entire disaster, so that Liberian people can feel that they are working. And, you know, and they say, oh, the government is working, they brought poor to poor, and because a lot of sentiments attached to that entire Capitol building, and they fired that, gutted that building. But I would think it would be a sad mistake for President Booker to go down that route. I think that there's an easy calm in Liberia right now, and that President Booker is taking Liberia down the drain to a dangerous path that we all want him to avoid. And I hope they can pay attention and put Liberia first, that they're saying words, but the actions are not portraying.
Let me bring in one more caller. Call out your name and where you calling from.
Yeah, this is Wanda Freeman, calling from South.
Go ahead, Anthony Freeman.
Yeah, I just want to speak on the issue about the investigation. Look, we will continue to have a politicized police. Today you find ABC sympathizers are calling and saying, you know, the police is biased. But mind you, 6 years ago, the police were empowered. Jefferson Koji them all across Liberia, and the police took no action. Today, it's like the opposite. Mr. Bwaka and his group appointed the police, and now they are committing a whole lot of crime. And obviously, the police is not going against them. The police only going against anybody who is not in United Party, because of the way the police is structured. You can't have a police that serves at the will and pleasure of the president. If you have a police like that, and if the policeman is going to take action against the ruling party, it means the police director will not have a job the next day. That's why you see, from even Town to now, the police only know how to go after opposition and don't go after ruling party people. We have to restructure our society. There's a lot of problems. It's the same thing with the Ministry of Justice. People commit crime, they manipulate the budget. The Ministry of Justice does nothing. The Minister of Public Works and NATO is using government money. It does nothing. For Christ's sake, 2 people in the president's office try to dupe the country of millions of dollars. The Ministry of Justice has done nothing. The police have done nothing, because why those people are in the ruling party. That is the way the police is structured, that how it is. So if you move United Party from there and bring another party, the police will be bending over backward to accommodate that other party. So I don't see any proper investigation. And matter of fact, if I were the one, that if I were a lawyer for those people, I would tell them, I'm not going anywhere. You just file your charges in court, and we'll answer you in court. I did a lot of that when I was practicing. I don't bother to waste my time to police station. You file your charges, we'll go to court, and we'll battle it out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, that's all the time we have for the show. Let's one thing I wanted to talk about is your closing. Let's wrap up. Dr. Pearson, start with you.
Yeah. Look, let me say hi to the Liberian people out there again. I hope they lock the doors and the windows properly and double check them before they go to bed when they hear this recording. want to say thanks to Dennis, and thanks to Mr. Eastman and Georgie in the studio. That listen, look, Liberia, we need to do better with how we manage our natural resources so that it benefits not just us today, but generations to come. President Barker works to ArcelorMittal and become the PR for ArcelorMittal, and ministers are posting all ArcelorMittal pictures on Facebook as though they are working as public relations with ArcelorMittal. While the major issue here is to ensure that when President Barker has long left the scene after 25 years, when he 115 years old, ArcelorMittal will still be taking iron ore from Liberia. Now they are talking about ensuring that they reduce the amount of waste that goes in the pocket when they carry the ore out of the ore out of the country, so that they carry more iron out of the country. In that regard, it means that they're going to be taking more of our resources from us than they were already taking in the pockets and pockets and pockets low on the train track that they've been taking for the last 25 years. How can we ensure that the future generation of our country will find some iron ore left in the ground? Is the question, is the $2.5 billion question that we have to answer on this line. And I want to say, Liberian people, wake up and open your eyes. President Barker is about to sell the country for the next 25 years, and by that time, he'll be 115 years old, long since gone, and will still be suffering for what he will do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to say the same thing. Liberians have to open their eyes. These extractive industries have proven not to be healthy for African countries. We allow all our minerals to be taken for very low price, since we cannot improve them ourselves or manipulate them ourselves to a market value, and we're letting it go. These are the signing of extractive agreements is not a victory. What will be a victory for us is we get into making things out of our resources, the establishment of factories, the establishment of industries that will use our resources and make finished products within our 43,000 square miles. We're celebrating a lot of the wrong things. Only time we need to celebrate is when you see a significant jump in employment, in economic activity, the acceleration of the Liberian dollar, and in the number of businesses and trades that are in our country. We're celebrating the wrong things. These things are not, they're just they're not significant enough to change our livelihood. And if we continue on this path, that we celebrate these insignificant gains and trinkets, our country will continually be in perpetual poverty. We are already behind, and now we're not even trying to catch up. We're doing things what they used to celebrate in 1920 or 1940 when they first discovered iron ore in the country. What benefit did that do for us? What happened? What benefit did Bummy Hills do for us? What benefit did Lamco in Bone Mines? What benefit have we gotten? I think we better open our eyes now and realize, until we start doing things for ourselves, it's not going to benefit us.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I want to thank our viewers for watching, and our friends at Kear Radio. Thank you, even though there was some tough time, you were not able to air us that, but we still appreciate your time. Again, on behalf of all of us, we say, have a good night and God bless you. That's why we never close any broadcast without playing the song that says, whatever you believe, if you believe ArcelorMittal is God sent or the need to do more, we are all Liberians. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Yeah, you raise it all we want. Labira.